Chapter 22. Who has Cassie now? Rachel stammered. The policeman, the controller, one who went to the farm, the one who's at the sharing meeting. He has her. He saw her to me and trying to get close to the full members. Ah. So that did come back to bite her. Rachel let go of a few choice words. We hadn't even started and already everything was a disaster. Okay, I said grimly, we go ahead like Rachel said. We figure there are too many controllers for them all to know each other. I mean, they add new bodies all the time, right? So maybe we're new controllers, right? Oh man, Marco moaned. You have a better idea? No, he said, I think we should go ahead. We take our chances. Let's rock and roll. Okay, everyone act cool. I looked at Tobias. It's too late for you to morph back now. Is it really, though? But trying to let him see you. Rachel, Margaret, and I stepped down a dark hallway. My legs were stiff, my knees rickety. I was walking like Frankenstein trying to look casual. I headed for a janitor's closet. Fortunately, no one was in the hallway. We entered a tiny room and stepped inside. I tried to crawl a sequencer opening a door, faucet to the left, and twist a second hook around light. The door swung open. There was more noise than there had been the other day, or maybe it's just my human ears are better than lizard ones. There's a deep, sloshing, swooshing sound, like a gentle surf breaking on the shore, but that was the nice sound. The other sounds are horrifying. The despairing cries, the terrifying screams, the shouts of the shrieking, triumphant laughter. You sure this is just a yerk pool? Marco said in a nervous, shaky voice. I see a guy with horns and a pitchfork and I'm out of here. I don't blame him. I stepped in the opening. The stairs were steep and there was no rail, so you felt like you're about to pitch forward every step. We descended together and the door closed automatically behind us. At first I guess I expected to be maybe a couple dozen steps, but they never seemed to end. We just kept walking and there was always more steps. The walls were dirt, then became rock as we went down, down, and down. It felt like the stairs would never end. Some superior aliens, Marco whispered. You think they put in an elevator? We giggled a little, very little, and suddenly the rock walls widened out. We emerged into a huge cavern. And when I say huge, I mean huge. They could have played a Super Bowl in there and had room left over for a couple of malls. It was like a giant bowl turned upside down, all carved out of solid rock. At the very top of the bowl was the faint outline of a hole. I thought I could see the stars through it. All around the outer edges of the cavern I could see other stairways like ours. They seemed to come from every direction, appearing out of rock walls, leading down to the floor of the cavern. We clustered toward the center of the stairway. It was a sheer drop off the sides of the stairs. This is gigantic, Margot said. This isn't just under the school, it's under half the town. Those stairways must lead to a dozen secret entrances. Jake, this whole area is set up with secret passageways. He shook his head. Oh man, this is worse, so much bigger. I felt the same despair. We were fools. This wasn't just some little group of alien bad guys. To build this underground city, these guys have power we couldn't even imagine. That's almost what this was. A city. There are buildings and sheds all around the rim of the cavern, and we can see yellow caterpillar earth movers and cranes that work on the far side of the cavern. They seem weirdly normal in this incredible place. There were creatures everywhere, Taxons, Harbinger, and other things couldn't even begin to guess, but mostly they were humans. A lot of them. At the very center of the cavern was a pool like a small lake, maybe 100 feet across and perfectly round. Only the water wasn't water. It moved like melted lead and was about the same color. The sloshing sound I could hear from the liquid pool being rippled and splashed by hundreds of fast-moving things below the surface. I knew what they were. Yerks. Yerks in their natural slug-like state. They were swimming, cavorting in the pool like kids on a hot day. Near the edge of the pool were cages. And the cages were Harbinger and human beings. Some of the humans screamed for help. Some cried silently. Some just sat there and waited, all hope lost. There were adults there, and kids, women and men, and more than 100 packed into a cage. The captive Harbinger kept in separate, stronger ones. They paced and howled and slashed the air with their bladed arms. I almost lost hope. I felt like my heart had stopped. It was a place of unimaginable horror, and we were so few, so weak. Below us on the stairs, see the controller cop and Cassie. He was dragging her roughly whenever she stumbled. They reached the bottom of the stairs. I'm gonna morph, I said. I'm gonna get Cassie away from him. Marco put a hand on my shoulder. It's not time yet, dude. Be cool. Cassie's okay, Jake. She isn't hurt, just scared. He better not hurt her, I said. Keep an eye on Tobias. We were at two low steel piers built out of the pool. On one, Harbinger controllers politely guarded a line of humans and Harbinger and Taxons. This is the unloading station. One by one, people knelt down, bent over, and dipped their heads to the surface. Then Harbinger helped them. As we watched, I made calmly bent over, head just inches above the lead-gray pool. Harbinger held her elbow gently to help her keep balance. Then we saw the thing dripping, sliding, squirming, crawling out of her ear. A yerk. Oh no, Rachel moaned. She thought she might be sick. Oh no, no. When the yerk was all the way out of her head, it dropped in the pool and disappeared into the turbulent surface. Instantly, one cried out, "You filth! Let me go! Let me go! I'm free! You can't get doing this! Let me go!" The two Harbinger grabbed her. They dragged her on to the nearest cage and threw her in. Help, the one screamed. Oh, please, someone help. Help us all. We've been hearing cries like that all the way down the steps. But now we are close enough to get the cries a human face, and they cut right to my soul. There's a second steel pier. That was the loading station. There the host bodies are dragged from the holding cages to have Yerks re-enter their heads. It was a pretty basic process to grab the host, whether human or Harbinger, and force their heads into the pool. Sometimes they screamed and fought, and sometimes just cried. But they always lost. When their heads are yanked down to the pool, we could see a slug still slithering into their ears. After a few minutes, they become calm again as the Yerks regain control, and then off they went, once more slaves to the Yerks. It was a horrible assembly line from the unloading pier to the holding cages to the infestation pier. They moved the poor victims through a pretty speedy rate, but there's another area we can only now see. There, humans Harbinger waited on comfortable chairs, sipping drinks and actually watching TV. Taxons squirmed around like gigantic spiny maggots. I could hear a faint sound of a television set. I was sure I could hear laughter from the humans. They were watching a show and having a good laugh. They're the voluntary hosts, Tobias said. Collaborators. What are you talking about, I demand? You remember what the Andalite told us? Many humans in Harbinger are voluntary hosts. The Yerks persuaded him to let them take over. I can't believe that, Rachel said. No person would ever let this happen. No one will give up control of themselves. Some people are scum, Rachel, Margaret said. Sorry to burst your balloon. The Yerks convinced them that taking on a Yerk will solve all their problems. I think that's what the sharing is about. People believe that becoming something different they can leave behind all their pain. Like spending all their time as a hawk, Marco pointed out. Tobias had nothing to say to that. He spread his wings and flew up and away. Tobias, come back, I called up to him. We have to get moving, Rachel said. We've been standing here too long. She looked at Marco. Don't be a jerk, Tobias, okay? We need everyone. Tobias came swooping back. Cassie, she's at the pier. The infestation pier. They're going to turn her into a host. My normal human eyes couldn't see that well in the purple gloom. I could just make out the cop's uniform in a small shape below him. Or right beside him. Can anyone tell me people are conscious while they're possessed? Yes, they are. They are possessed 100% all of the time. And they're acutely aware of everything the Yerk is doing. I could just make out the cop's uniform in a small shape beside him. Do you see Tom? Asked Tobias. In answer, he flapped his wings in altitude. I saw him high over the pool, and he came back in a power dive. I see him. Hesitate for asking. Is he in a cages, or is he voluntary? He's in a cage, he's yelling his brains out. Yes, I knew Tom couldn't have been on voluntarily. I knew it must have taken him kicking and punching. Cassie's getting near the end of the pier. We'll have a few minutes before they infest her. It was time. We were at the bottom of the steps. We were to hide behind a storage shed of some kind. Marco pulled me around a corner and drew me close so I hear her whisper. Look, before we do this, there's one thing, Jake. You have to promise me. I knew he was going to say, if I have to die, okay, but don't let them take me. Don't let them put one of those things in my head. It'll be okay. You, a voice, a human voice, you two. Who are you? I spun around. A man, just one, beside him fleeing was a big Harbinger looking suspicious on the other side of Taxon. Somehow the man hadn't seen Rachel. She was around the corner of the building. But he'd seen Marco and me talking. I guess it didn't look right to him. Us? Marco asked. Who are we? Hey, who are you? Take them, the man ordered. The Harbinger advanced on us. The Taxon slithered forward a dozen of sharp spiny legs, red jelly eyes quivering, mouth opening and closing in anticipation. I knew I had to morph, but I was frozen in fear. And then I saw Rachel. She got behind the controllers, and she was getting very, very large. Chapter 24. Rachel was getting larger very fast. Huge leathery ears sprouted suddenly from the side of her head. Her nose stretched and stretched till it was longer than her body had started with. Her arms and legs were as big as tree trunks, and her mouth grew two enormous curved teeth. My cousin Rachel now stood almost 13 feet high and weighed about 14,000 pounds. The weird thing was, I was happy about all this. Haha, I heard Rachel's triumphant laugh. I did it! The Harbinger and Taxon came closer. Rachel began twitching her little ropey tail. Front legs pawed the dirt floor of the cavern. She raised her humongous head and stuck out a 3-foot-long tusk. The Taxon's first noticed her was all around jelly eyes, but I guess he didn't know how to react. When Rachel charged, one minute she was staying there, next minute she was barreling forward like an out-of-control 18-wheeler. The Harbinger was fast. He spun around and slashed at her trunk, but it was too little and too late. Rachel was moving and no flesh wound was going to stop her. Puny little nothing, Rachel cried outraged. You attack me? The Harbinger went down, crushed under her enormous feet. He bellowed, but her trumpeting was louder. Okay, that's a broken spine, alright. The Taxon tried to run. Turns out they can move very fast when they feel like it. It also turns out elephants are faster than you think. They can be very fast. Rachel's foot caught his back end. The neolegs collapsed, cracking like broken twigs, and yellow goo oozed from the popped flesh of the big worm. She just kept rolling over them, leaning behind a big, disgusting pile of goo. The foul stench of squished Taxon nearly knocked me out. The unit still staying there. Like he said, an elephant? Like he couldn't even think of it being real. Rachel wrapped her trunk around his middle. Yeah, we heard her say, an elephant. He screamed, and I guess he figured it was real. Rachel threw him for the air. I never saw where he landed. Okay, I think that's 3 fatalities on her. Good job, Rachel. Quick, I yelled to Marco, morph. Nice work, Rachel said, remind me not to make you mad. I focused on a tiger. I knew his DNA pattern was in me. I thought of him lying near his habitat in the gardens, wishing he was back in the jungle, hunting and taking down his prey. I guess maybe you wouldn't mind the use I was making of his DNA. It wasn't quite a jungle, but it would do. More Harbinger coming, Rachel said. She turned to face them with her tusks ready. I felt the morph begin. The hair grew from my face. The tail squirted out behind me. That's a weird phrasing. My arms bulged and rippled. They were massive. My shirt ripped and I felt forward on my hands, now my front legs. The power. It was electric, like a slow-motion explosion. I could feel the power of the tiger growing inside me. I watched claws, long, wickedly curved, tearing, ripping, shredding claws go from my puny human hands. I could feel the teeth sprouting from my mouth. My eyes looked through the darkness like it was broad daylight. But most of all, the power. The sheer, incredible power. I was afraid of nothing. The Harbinger were running at me, their arm blades slashing. I opened my mouth and roared, and they stopped dead in my tracks. That's right, my little Harbinger friends, a human part of my brain thought. It's time to meet the tiger. The muscle in my back legs coiled up, and I bared my teeth, gave another roar, letting the ground quiver, and I leapt for the air, claws outstretched. Chapter 25. I sailed for the air and shot the nearest one in the chest. Down he went with me on top of him. He rolled over and tried to get up. He was fast, but I was faster. He struck at me, but I ducked under it. My left paw swung so fast I couldn't even see it. It left 4 oozing tracks across his shoulder. Another one, wrist blades, elbow blades, and talons whizzed like a pair of lawnmowers on full throttle. But still, I was faster. I couldn't even remember what happened next. All I have is this image of the tiger, of me with claws slashing and jaws snapping. I was a whirlwind of orange fur and black stripes. They fell back, and I roared, and they turned and ran. On one side I saw Rachel. She lifted Harbinger up on her tusk and tossed him back over her shoulder like a doll. Then I saw Marco, Big Jim's massive bodies rippling out of his slight frame. Just call me King, Marco said. King Kong. The truth is, like Cassie said, gorillas are very gentle, peaceful, and quiet creatures, but the truth is also that they're very, very strong. And compared to a gorilla, man's made something made out of toothpicks. Now Harbinger are also pretty large. They stand about 7 feet, are built for trouble, but Marco swung one gorilla fist and hit the nearest one in the stomach, and he went down hard. That iconic lion's roar, it's really a tiger's. Huh, didn't know that. I roared, Rachel trumpeted, Marco lifted Harbinger up and tossed him aside. The rest Harbinger turned and ran. Now I shouted before they get organized again. We charged. Rachel just plowed through some small sheds and buildings like Godzilla heading for Tokyo. Marco came loping along, swinging his massive forearms. Punching anything got in his way, whatever he punched aside to stay down. I ran right down the middle looking for any controller dumb enough to mess with me. We reached the cages, the people in Harbinger inside shrank back from us. Seagulls are cute and evil. Accurate. They're also afraid of us as they wear the controllers. Let's face it, the rescue party of an elephant, gorilla, and a tiger is not what they've been hoping for. Marco began ripping in a lock on one of the cages, and it gave away. The door flew open, just something very human to reassure them. He made a little bow and crooked his fingers to say, come on out. Tom was first, looked scared and mad, determined. I was going to send him a thought message telling who I was, but suddenly there was Rachel screaming in my head. Jake, she said, look, Cassie. Cassie's near the end of the pier. The Harbinger and tax and guards still sticking to their duties as I watched another human was shoved headfirst in the pool. Cassie's next, I cried. Don't worry, Marco said, we'll take care of Tom. Go before they do it to her. I had saved for only a second, 1,000 thoughts in my head. Later, think about that moment. Think maybe if only. But I broke into a run. I had to get to her. As I watched 2 of the Harbinger and the pier grab Cassie by the arms. No, she cried. I tore at full speed and leapt over the Texans. I dodged around Harbinger. I practically flew, but I couldn't really fly, not the way Tobias could. I saw him high up in the cavern, and down he came, like a bullet. The talons came forward and hit the first Harbinger by 50 miles an hour. He swooped away, leaving the alien clutching a slimy mess where his eyes used to be. Ooh. And that's all Cassie needed. She broke away and ran down the pier. I finally got there and went after the remaining Harbinger controller. Morph, I yelled to Cassie. Morph and head back to the stairs. She looked at the other humans and Harbinger behind her in the line. Run! All of you run! They did. She plowed in a panicky crowd. Moments later, a black maned head appeared over the shoulders of the crowd. She became a horse and was racing for the stairs. I started after her, racing back to our pool toward Marco, Rachel, Tom, and the crowd that were free from the cages. The controllers starting to get organized. A group of taxmen was slithering out to stop Cassie and me. Both Liam, Harbinger, and Taxon are carrying weapons now. Up and over, said a Cassie near the line of Taxons. Up and over, she yelled back. I leaped and she jumped. Side by side, we sailed over several Taxons. They fired their handled Dracon beams, but it was too late. The beam sizzled the air behind us when we flew past. I could see kind of Rachel's tower and gray bolt just ahead. The stairs were near. I saw Marco with Tom. We were gonna make it. And then he stepped out daintily from a group of Harbinger. He seemed almost harmless in his andalite body. A gentle, half-deer, half-human-looking creature with bluish fur and an extra set of eyes on comical stalks. Visafree didn't look all that scary. Not compared to Harbinger, Taxons, or even all Earth animals, but he had an Andalite body with the power to morph, and he'd been all over the universe acquiring genetic patterns of monsters not like anything seen on Earth. A Taxon slid up beside Visafree and spoke. It was a weird half whistling sound. Visafree said nothing, he just looked at me at vertical slits there his eyes. This Taxon fool says you're wild animals. He wants to know if he and his brothers can eat you. But I know you're not animals. I know who and what you are. So, not all of you Andalites died when I burned your ship. It took me a couple moments to realize what he meant, and then it hit me. Of course, he thought we were Andalites. He guessed we were morphs, not real animals, and knew the Andalites are the only species that could do that. I compliment you getting this far, but it will accomplish nothing. Because now, my brave warriors, it is time. Time to die. He began to morph. I acquired this body in the 4th moon of the 2nd planet of a dying star. Like it? I realized I'd been wrong to be hopeful. We were not going to make it. Chapter 26. From Visafree's Andalite body, the creature grew. Tall as a tree, towering over even Rachel. 8 massive legs, 8 long, spindly arms, each ending in a 3-fingered claw, and from the place where the tops of arms grew came the heads. Heads, plural, 8 of them. The thing had a creature for the number 8. Even the Harbinger controllers backed away. They didn't want to be near Visafree and morph this way, but the Taxons edged closer, crowding around her lead like a pack of hungry dogs looking for table scraps. I was frozen in terror, stunned. Even the tiger part was confused and worried. I started to think that our morphed bodies could take on anything, but we couldn't fight this. Not and survive. Run, I yelled at others up the stairs. Cassie nudged shooting humans in cages and tossed back her head. They figured out what she wanted and climbed down her back. Then she galloped toward the stairs. Yes, run, Visafree crowed. That makes a more challenging target. And then he struck. From one of the heads came a round spinning ball of flame. From one of the heads, a round spinning ball of flame erupted. A ball of flame that flew like a missile. It skimmed toward the air and splattered against the back of one of the women riding Cassie. She screamed and fell off, rolling around to put out the flames. Cassie had going with only one rider. She reached the base of the stairs. Target practice, Visafree laughed. He threw fireball after fireball, one after the other. One singed my shoulder and flew past. One hit Rachel in the ear and made her scream in my head and trumpet in terror. The air was full of fire. We have to get out of here, Marco yelled. Yes, run for the stairs, I repeated. Rachel, get moving, clear a path. A big swarm was heading for the stairs, the Taxons had closed in. Anything that got away from Visafree was swarmed over by them. I saw Tom out of the corner of my eye. He was swinging his fist at a pair of Taxons that were clinging to him. He couldn't hurt them, but he was trying just the same. Rachel ran over and plowed into one of them, crushing him into her tree trunk legs. Marco threw his arms around a second Taxon and twisted till it split open, spilling its guts all over the floor. Rachel hit the bottom of a few stairs and stopped. Elephant bodies are great for some things, but they're useless on stairs. Morph back, I told Rachel. She began to shrink almost immediately, but wasn't time to wait until it was complete. She started to stare as a shifting mass of gray and pink, part human and elephant, staggering on weird, half-finished legs, and dragging a shriveled trunk that made her pretty face into something awful to see. We ran, but it was impossible. By the time we climbed a few dozen stairs, only a few free humans and 2 free Harbinger were with us. The rest had been recaptured or burned. A fireball was filled my feet and I snarled, but we still retreated. We were 100 feet up the stairs and the last 2 freed Harbinger were brought down by the Visor's fireballs. They fell in flames. The Visor was climbing the stairs now all alone. He was so big he barely fit. I knew it reached a point where the walls closed in around him he would be safe. We glanced up and saw Castle in safety above us with 1 human rider. The rest, along with Tom and a few handful of freed humans, were bunched together. Visafree began pelting the staircase ahead of us with fire. We were trapped, fire ahead and him behind. No, I heard from her voice say, no, you filthy creep, you aren't going to win this time. It was Tom. All alone he charged at Visafree and were nothing but his fist. One of Visor's arms came down and swung at him. Tom, I cried. My tiger body roared out its might, but the sounds lost in the noise of crying humans and whistling Taxons. I saw him stagger from the Visor's blow. I saw him fall the edge of the stairs, and I went a little crazy. I was on the Visor before I knew what was happening, on and digging my claws into his flesh. I twisted up behind one of his 8 heads. The tiger me knew what to do. I sank my teeth into his neck and clamped my jaws and held on. Another head came back and aimed a fireball at me. I dodged the first, but the second burned my flank and I jumped clear. He roared in pain and I roared in hatred, and we ran up the stairs with 100 nightmares at our heels. We ran, exhausted and burned and terrified, and we ran. Visafree made one mistake. He was too large to follow us much further. I heard him yell something as we finally got away. He said, I'll kill you all, Andalites. Run away now, but it doesn't matter. I'll kill you. Actually, I think it did matter. We hadn't destroyed him, but we did come out alive, we Animorphs. The final count is exactly one human freed. The woman who rode Cassie's back out of the hellish pit. And Cassie got away clean. It had been the suspicious controller policeman who grabbed her. He just don't want to know her name, where she lived, and if she'd been spying. Cassie said we didn't have to worry about him anymore. She didn't want to talk about what happened to him. As for Tom, my brother, Tom was not freed. I was lying in my bed, shaking and shivering and crying from the aftereffects of terror when I heard him come home to the lair that night. He never knew I was a tiger. He never knew how close I was to freeing him, and he was a controller again, the thing in his head once more. Cassie and Marco and Rachel and I made up the stairs. We emerged in the hallway of a school that had never seemed the same to us again. And Tobias? He survived too. It was almost morning when I awakened from dead sleep by feathery beating on my window. I opened it until he flew in. "You mad?" I said. "Oh man, you had me scared. I figured you were still trapped down there. I mean, I thought you'd probably find somewhere hiding in a cavern, but I knew you'd been more for a while. I was worried you wouldn't be able to get back without getting caught. It's good to see you." "Good to see you too, Jake," he said. "How are the others?" "Alive," I said. "Alive. I guess that's what counts." "Yeah, that's all that matters. Come on, Tobias, morph back. You can stay here. I'll even let you have the bed. I'd sleep on nails, I'm so tired." He didn't say anything. I guess in my heart I'd known all along. I just didn't want to admit it. "Come on," Tobias said. "Morph back." "Jake, just come on. No more flying tonight." I hid in the cabin for a while. They didn't see him. I had to stay out of sight till I could get out. "Jake, it took too long. More than 2 hours." I just stared at him, at his laser-focused eyes, that wicked beak and sharp talons, and his wings, the broad, powerful wings that let him fly. "I guess this is me from now on," Tobias said. I knew there were tears falling down my cheeks, but I didn't care anymore. "It's okay, Jake. Like you said, we're alive." I went to the window and looked up at the stars. Somewhere up there on those cold, twinkling stars is the end of my homeworld. Somewhere up there was hope. "They'll come," Tobias said. "They only have to come. And until then..." I nodded and wiped away my tears. "Yeah," I said. "Until then, we fight."